Hello, Coffee Chat friends. I'm just sitting here with a coffee with somebody I met just recently, Caroline. And she does something really interesting. I asked her if she'd do a little interview here, which she gratefully, or fortunately for me, accepted, and it's wonderful. And she's got some really interesting information, so I want to make sure that I get the questions right. So I have a little cheat sheet here, so you see me looking down and so on. That's why. Now, I met Caroline first at a Toastmasters club here in Windsor, and just a few days ago I heard her do a talk on a topic that I think is extremely important. There was a time actually when I would call myself a marketing junkie, for the simple reason that I was in business for many years in different types of business, and I realized that marketing, or getting your message out in whatever it is that we do, is so extremely important. Whether that be looking for a job, trying to sell your house on your own, looking for a date even, for crying out loud, or if you have a small business, if it doesn't matter how good your product is, if not enough people know about it, or you're not very effective at doing it, then that can be really detrimental. Now, in the talk that she did, she talked about a couple things that were really memorable to me. When she started out her speech, she had a picture of heels of some feet walking away out of a door. I thought that was very pictographical, to the point that, how many times do we go into a shop or a business, whether we buy something or not, and we walk out feeling, why didn't anybody actually ask me if my service was good, or is there anything else we could help you with, or something like this. So often I've found anyways, there's cases where there is great service for sure, but in so many cases we walk out and there was an opportunity for them to find out if they could serve us better, and they haven't taken that. That to me was a really key point that she made. And the second one was about how many small businesses in particular can be very effective in what they do. In other words, a mechanic can be very good at mechanics. A hairstylist can be very good at doing hair. But they might not be very effective at getting the message out to the community that they do a very good job at that. And this is what Caroline is expert at, from what I understand. Now, Caroline, I understood that from what you talked about, we talked a little bit after the speech, that you spent many years in the trenches almost of sales, going from business to business and helping them with their marketing in some way, and perhaps advertising. I guess you were kind of like a sales rep, right? For a certain organization. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your experience in terms of the emphasis on what it is that people in business, or people wanting to market something, have to put emphasis on that would make a sale? Like, is there a couple of points that you learned that are essential for somebody to say, yes, I want what it is that you have to offer?
When you work in the sales rep field, you see a lot. And so you see some of those retailers who are getting it right. And what they're doing is they know their market, and they're catering to each part of what that market needs, whether that be buying paint or selling golf equipment or selling lawn tractors. They totally understand, and they're getting it right. While there's others who are just kind of there hoping and praying that people walk in the door, and relying on referrals to grow their business.
Right. So there's got to be ways that you can somehow help them. And I noticed that things have probably changed in a way, and there's actually more skills available to us to people who want to market, to be able to get the message out. I'm thinking specifically about social media. I'm sure that human nature hasn't changed really. We all want what we want.
Right.
We want to get our messages out there, and people want to buy stuff. I mean, because people do buy stuff, so that means that they do want to buy stuff. Can you comment a little bit on that, about how things have changed in the marketing world along the lines of social media?
Well, social media is a tool. Just like advertising in a newspaper or radio, it's a tool that you use to get your message out. But what a lot of retailers don't have is a plan or a strategy to get them started. If you don't have a strategy or a plan, whether you're making a trip or you're planning your business, how are you going to know what tools are going to be effective? And so it's a matter of, first of all, having that strategy or plan in place. Then you can use those tools that will reach that market that you're aiming for.
Right, right.
Social media is a tool.
So what you see then, what I'm getting from here is that a lot of people, small businesses, do not have a strategy. So they're more like just throwing darts.
Right.
So if they think that that might work, or if somebody gives them a good deal, or somebody says this, or somebody says that, they might jump on it. But that's not really a strategy. You can help them with a strategy, right?
Right.
Okay. Okay, that's great then. So now within this strategy, I'm thinking, if there was one thing that in your years of marketing that you see consistently that small business people are doing that is hindering their marketing efforts, that one thing that you could help them with, what might that be?
The one thing that they need to do is focus. They need to focus their efforts on solving one problem that the customer has. I find that many times they want to change their message every 6 months or every year because they think that everyone has already heard it. Most likely they haven't. And so if they solve that one problem and focus their efforts on that one thing in their store that they can best do, focus on their strengths rather than trying to gain somebody, they will be more successful. Marketing starts to become effective.
Right, right. So you might say, if you had a lumber yard, for example, who they sell plywood, they sell paint, and they sell wallpaper. And every year they think, oh, this year everybody's going to buy plywood, so we'll focus on that. The next year they focus on paint. The next year they focus on wallpaper. Whereas if they really look at their numbers, they realize that paint consistently outsells, for example. So
right.
that would be so they would use analysis in a way to, when you systematize it, if I understand, right? You'd help them with that. Looking at the bottom line, what has consistently been most effective, so let's go with that. Would it be something along that line? Right.
So they would deal with maybe just concentrate on selling paint, and the lumber and the other products become a sideline or a secondary item.
Right. Right.
They're solving the customer's problem with paint. So what exactly is that customer's problem with paint? Is it deciding on a color from there, or is
right.
What would that be?
Right, right. Yeah, that reminds me, actually, I was doing a job the other day. I do some handyman work here in Windsor as well. And there was a customer that I didn't do the paint in their house, but they were complaining about how there was a poor quality of paint. I won't mention what store it came from, but there was a poor quality of paint on the wall. And the husband and the wife, they're arguing over whether they should complain to the store or not as to the poor quality of paint. I would think the store would want to know about that, because then they'd be able to, it's good to get feedback, right?
Right.
So one of the strategies that maybe businesses could do, or whatever it is that we're doing, is to encourage criticism and feedback of what we're doing, right?
Right.
So you could help them with that in terms of customer response forms and this sort of thing too, right?
Effective strategy would have that built into it.
Right.
So if somebody has objections to the quality of a product or the service or any of that,
right,
that objection is a helping point for your business, because then you know where you're weak and where you need improvement. And it also shows you where people might be hesitant to buy. So maybe somebody might want to buy a paint and is not sure what the quality is. If you know that, then you can make sure that there's statements about the quality of that paint, on how it will do this job for this, and where it's good here and not so good there. And from there you can work on allaying their fears.
Right, right. And also too, I suppose you help them with, in their advertising, to be as honest as possible in the advertising, correct? I would guess. I mean, just a little funny story here. The family and I, we went over across the bridge into the States a couple of days ago. We went to a restaurant. Once again, I won't mention what restaurant it is, but there was a picture of a turkey dinner on the menu, and it looked very nice, a turkey breast, and so my wife likes that. So she ordered the turkey dinner, and what came was these little slivers of turkey, tiny little crispy little slivers of turkey. And my son ordered pancakes, but he ordered the blueberry pancakes, and what they delivered was walnut banana pancakes. And the explanation was, we don't have any blueberry anymore. But they took the order, but delivered something different. So you can imagine that that's not great. That's not a great marketing strategy in terms of customer perception, right?
Right.
So it'd be very important to represent what it is to help customers, help the businesses with that, to be honest, right? To be very honest about, we're going to actually deliver what we say, or give our best effort to deliver what we say.
And also, if they're not going to do that, what are they going to offer in return? What's the risk for the customer?
Right. Well, the risk for the customer in our case is that we won't go back. So and that's one of those examples of the heels going out the door and not coming back, right?
Right.
Yeah. And that's such a loss, because there's so much effort, I'm sure, to get people to look at what it is that we have to present. So why not present it in its best?
What was their attitude?
It was just really odd. Like I wasn't hungry, so I didn't eat anything. I told my son to send it back, but he was, it's fine. It was just very, very confusing. And the other thing that was funny about it too is the restaurant was largely empty, and there was this big, huge family having like a birthday party in the middle of it. So they sat us right beside that, and the rest of the restaurant was empty. The whole thing was really, really odd. It was like there was a complete disconnect over what a customer might want and what actually is delivered. So, and that's not uncommon, I have found. So there's lots of room for people like yourself to help small businesses in getting it straight as to what the customer wants, because you can say the customer is ultimately always right in that respect, in terms of that's the first thing to listen to, right? Yeah. They're not always right, but in terms of the value of what's got to be listened to, it certainly.
There are a lot of retailers that kind of have an idea of what the customer wants and what the customer's needs are. But sometimes they just need someone to just kind of give them that little push or that little guidance. They're on the right trail or they're on the wrong trail, and maybe they should focus on this instead of that. Sometimes when you're a retailer or a business owner, you become myopic and you forget what's important to the customer.
Yeah, because you could somehow become jaded in thinking that they already know what you know, right? Or something like that, or what you think is obvious is not obvious to them. The business owner might think that they're giving good service, but they're not actually, because they never actually asked them, or and it's such a shame in a way that there's such an opportunity to provide added value that will bring people back and actually get people coming in and bringing people with them, because I got good service here. Right.
Or not even sure that the customer wants what they think they want. I know I walked into a lot of retailers and said, maybe you should focus on this instead of that. And when they did, they got a good response and kind of changed their focus and kind of started thinking a different way. You can become task-oriented. It's easier to make a checklist and mark off those things as you complete. But
yeah, but it might
forget
not,
the big picture.
Forget the big picture. Forget the big picture, which is the customer. More than that, customer first, and then find how the product will fit into the customer, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. Very interesting chat about that. Now, so we already know that you do help small businesses, because you've helped many, many small businesses with their challenges with marketing. And just say, for example, as an example, let's have a sort of a case study here, a little case study. As an example, suppose I would want to get some free advice from you, Caroline, and
sure.
let's just say, that's just a little bit of being facetious here. But suppose I had a YouTube channel, and I wanted to, and that's kind of a social media thing today,
right?
And I wanted to get more viewers. What can I do? How can I please those out there in YouTube land to come to my YouTube channel? How is it that you could help me with marketing that, if there is such a way to market that?
First of all, you have to look at who is going to listen to your YouTube channel and design a strategy around that. So what problems are you solving for the customer? Because ultimately, you are solving a problem, and that's why you're in business, or you have a YouTube channel. So what is that problem that you are solving? And what is the solution to that problem? And then who is your target market? You need to look at what their objections would be. Right. Even if it's a free YouTube, you're going to find people have objections. Say you were given 2 free tickets to see the movies, but you had to go tonight and you had to go at midnight. You might still find a lot of reasons to object, even though you don't have to pay for them, right?
Right.
Well, it's raining out, it's after dinner, I got to get up early the next day. Right. And you'll still have objections, whether it's a free item or someone has to pay for it. Right. So you've got to look at what those objections are on why people would not want to watch it. And you appeal to that. And you eliminate those objections. You have testimonials on people. You find your uniqueness, why you are different than the competition.
Right.
And from there you would grow your channel. And then where are these people?
And you have to put the message out somehow.
There's a lot of social media, right?
Yeah.
So, and each social media has its own market.
Right.
Google Plus is mainly male. Pinterest is mainly female. So it would all depend on where.
Oh, really? Yeah. And that's an important thing too, is to know your demographic.
Right.
Know who it is that's buying. If it's young people, older people, ethnicities perhaps in certain areas, especially for things like food and restaurants and so on, and for male, female. Even
breaking that down. You can have a group of men in their 50s, and they're all different. Yeah. They might all wear jeans, but they might all wear jeans for the different reasons. Some might wear jeans because they love jeans. Others might wear jeans only for work.
Right.
They have different needs.
Right.
Even in the same product, even in the same age group.
Right, right. And of course, all these things, all these ways of getting people's information is often seen as nefarious in a way, or kind of dangerous, because you see the NSA spying on people to try to get information on this and that to target certain people. But in terms of getting our message out, we have to know. We have to find ways to get our message out. Like I say, if you have the greatest product, the greatest, what you feel is the greatest information, the greatest book or whatever, and if nobody knows about it, then it's just collecting dust, right?
Right.
So, very valuable information. As we can imagine, there must be many people who can use your information in some way, use your help somehow. And I understand that you are able to help people. Like, you actually sit down with them on Google Plus or one-on-one anywhere across Canada, probably anywhere really, if they're able to contact you, so that you could somehow help them set up something, make a deal with them in some way that will affect better marketing strategies for them. So what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, I have a Gmail account, buildyourmarket123@gmail.com, and you can reach me there.
Buildyourmarket123@gmail.com?
Right.
All right. So we got that. That's Caroline's access. That's awesome. Well, just in closing here, I feel that Caroline has something very valuable to share, because if we're honest with ourselves and we have something we want to share with a greater number of people than ourselves, we got to have an effective way of getting our message out there. And if we don't feel that we have the skills or the strategies to do that, somebody like Caroline certainly has demonstrated that, having spent many years in the trenches, shall we say, of sales and marketing. And the sales and marketing that she did, if I'm correct, was in newspaper advertising, right?
Newspaper advertising, radio advertising, did marketing strategies for nonprofits.
Yeah. So you were involved in going to businesses and saying, how can I help you to get your message in here, into this media, which would be spread over the whole community, and you would help them with that. And you spent many years in that, right?
Right.
So you've got a lot of experience in talking to many small businesses about how to improve their marketing strategies. I think that that's very valuable. You've got great value to share, Caroline. And I really appreciate you sharing some of your thoughts and wisdom on marketing with the Coffee Chat audience.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.